This podcast is part of the Planet Broadcasting Network.
Visit planetbroadcasting.com for more podcasts from our great mates.
Much requested. You couldn't believe the numbers that came in for people that wanted to see the Pierce Brosnan James Bond franchise covered in full by two idiots.
Were we included in that? Did I get a vote?
You didn't get a vote. Do you want to vote now?
I vote no?
It's too late.
And I watched it.
And you
know what?
it.
I enjoyed this one.
Me too.
It's not this Pierce Brosnan Bond movie that I feared watching and rewatching. It's all the ones after this.
I feel
because
that's probably
much
correct.
like the Daniel Craig Bond movies, I feel like the Brosnan era has a great opening movie.
Yes.
And then a rapid decline.
Yeah.
And that's interesting because both GoldenEye and Casino Royale are both directed by Martin Campbell.
Is that an accident? Probably not. They probably went, he made a good one. That was the last good one. Can we get that guy to come back?
Let's get that guy again, and they have diminishing returns for the rest.
Exactly. And look, these videos also will be diminishing returns, no doubt. But hey, leave a like on this one at the very
That's right,
least.
yeah.
This will be the best one, hopefully. Because we've got a bunch of stuff to cover. That's with extended audio. That's a great gag for the extended audio, don't you think?
You did a really good gag then. Yeah, made it seem like you stumbled over your words, but you didn't?
That's right.
Wow.
Because we've got a bunch of stuff to cover. Do you want to hear how Pierce Brosnan, or maybe you know about this, came upon this role?
I believe, you can correct me,
I'm ready.
Yeah, you're ready. I believe he auditioned for it in the past.
Yes.
But he couldn't, he was also doing a detective show called Remington Steele, and so he couldn't get out of that contract.
Yes.
And so the role of Bond was given to a different Bond, Timothy
different
Dalton.
Bond.
Timothy Dalton?
That's right.
George Lazenby.
Yeah.
Timothy Dalton.
Timothy Dalton, that's right. It was the 80s. It was the edgy Bond. Well, one of the first edgy. There's been many Bonds. Do people know that? Is it important to point that out? Because people will probably tell us in the comments that there's been a few of them. Yeah.
David Niven. Also a Bond.
Also
Not
a Bond.
officially.
Not officially.
Woody Allen, we don't talk about it.
So yeah, there was supposed to be a 1991 sequel, which was going to be this movie. It was supposed to be the property of a lady based on the Fleming short story, but there were legal issues over the ownership and what happened because of License to Kill, because it didn't do super well. There's always legal troubles with Bond for some reason.
It really is,
Have you noticed that?
yeah.
And so by the time it came
Probably because
around...
Ian Fleming stole a lot of ideas.
Potentially. So by the time it came around to filming this one, the Broccoli family, who run the Bond franchise.
Absolutely.
You know what they're about.
Barb Broccoli and the other Albert
Cubby Broccoli.
Cubby Broccoli.
Yeah. They said, Dalton, you should come back. And he said, I'll come back, I'll do one. And they're like, no, if you come back, you got to do like 4. Because it's been quite a long time. You come back and you do one and then you kill the franchise if you run off. So he's like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do anything ever again, he said, until Hot Fuzz.
That's right.
I'm sure he did stuff in the
middle.
middle.
Then I'm going to turn in a great performance for Hot Fuzz.
Exactly.
Then I'm going to be in Penny Dreadful, I think.
Yeah.
Is what he said, maybe.
That's right. Doctor Who. I'm in one of those seasons. Remember that?
Yeah.
Time Lords or something.
I think I'm in the Doom Patrol in some universes.
So this actually isn't based on any novel. It is the first one ever.
Original content, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But the name comes from Ian Fleming's Jamaican Beach House, which is named after a World War II thing that he did in World War II. He was sort of a spy guy.
When you cowered in fear, they called that a GoldenEye.
Well, because Bond, everyone knows this, I'm sure, but it's like the fantasized version of what he kind of wanted to do in the war. Because he did a lot of war room kind of espionage stuff. He wasn't out in the field shooting people like a James Bond.
He was in a boardroom shooting people.
Like a James Bond also. Right. What's the plot of this, would you say?
All right.
Oh, they got Pierce Brosnan anyway, so
that's right.
He's Bond.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
And you know what? Looks the part, definitely looks
100%.
the part. Especially in this one.
Yes.
He's got great hair for 1995 or any year.
Yeah.
That's some good looking hair.
It's that Christian Bale American Psycho hair.
Yeah, it's looking good.
It's looking real good. Yeah.
Okay, but from what I can gather, the plot is the villains want to acquire GoldenEye.
GoldenEye.
No, I don't like the theme song. By the by, the plot is the villains want to acquire GoldenEye, which is an EMP. Are you familiar with what an EMP is? It's an electromagnetic pulse.
I am after this movie.
This, I think, was one of the earliest times in the cinema I learned what an electromagnetic pulse was, and then I learned it again in every movie that's ever been made since. I get it now.
We have a rule where your movie automatically loses a point. If that means anything, which obviously it doesn't. It's an arbitrary thing I just said. But if you explain what an EMP is, this one definitely gets a pass because it's one of the first.
Yeah, it explains that it's an electromagnetic pulse. It's the side effect of a nuclear blast that defeats and shuts down all sorts of electronic devices.
All those things.
Oh no, we've just lost a point, haven't we?
Yeah, we certainly have.
Oh no. Anyway, they want to steal it.
Yeah.
So they can then computer hack into some computers, some financial computers, and steal a bunch of money and then set off GoldenEye so there's no record of what they done.
Yeah, and what's
they
GoldenEye?
Get off scot-free.
I'd never seen satellite imagery like this in a movie as well. I know they didn't really use a satellite, but just the the idea that you could see someone from space. I was like, people can do, oh my God, is that true? Yes, they could definitely do that.
It's the mid-90s. What have I been doing? It's the mid-90s and I'm a teenager. What have I now been up to that they could see?
They saw where I kept all my pogs when I buried them in the woods.
That's right.
The opening of this film is terrific.
Yeah, it opens with James Bond, first
A
of all.
stuntman, you should say.
A stuntman who looks kind of like Pierce Brosnan leaping off the side of a dam, and that looks incredible. It's a real stunt.
Yep.
They did it for real.
Because Bungie was big at the time.
Bungie was big
just
at the
like
time.
parkour was big at the time of Casino Royale.
That's right, exactly.
Just like clowns were big in the 80s when Roger Moore did that.
That's right.
Big things that were happening.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, that sequence I certainly remembered and really enjoyed from the first time I watched it. But what I enjoy is that Pierce Brosnan's first appearance as Bond and his first piece of dialogue and his witty rejoinder first happens when he's upside down in a men's toilet. I think that's fun.
Absolutely it is, yeah. I find him very convincing as Bond. In this one in particular, I think he's suave and the one-liners aren't too over the top.
That's
At this
true,
point,
yeah.
they become worse. And I also think Janice, 006's,
Yes.
I think he's a great foil for him.
Yeah.
Again, looks the part. He's the kind of guy that would be running around doing missions, but also, is that guy evil? You know what I mean?
Exactly. And it's
Yeah.
also, at this point, Bond has yet to be rebooted. So he's been doing the Bond thing for decades. And it's quite amazing that...
Yeah, he did that weird golden gun thing.
Exactly. That nobody else in the 00 series has gone bad at this point. So
Yeah.
it's kind of... They've had it coming, if we're honest.
I can't believe, if we're just getting into, this is the part of the video where, hey, remember this? They put him in a helicopter. There's multiple points, and it's very much a Bond trope where they just leave him alone and presume that he's going to die.
They explain most of the plot first, and then they leave him to
You're
die.
right. Again, that's James Bond.
Yeah.
But they leave him in a helicopter. He awakens to a screaming woman, and the eject button is just next to his
Yeah,
head.
right,
Terrific stuff.
We'll take away all his gadgets so he can't use those.
Yeah.
Let's just hope he hasn't done any stretching, any government mandated stretching in the last half hour.
What do you think of the Bond girls, or the Bond women as they're more known now?
I have a few notes.
Sure.
So obviously we have the villain Bond girl, that's Xenia Onatopp. It's a little subtler than your days of Pussy Galore, as an example.
A little.
Just a little. I have two notes about her. Kind of sweaty all the time, horny for murders. Do you think that's
Big time, yeah.
accurate? Yeah. Mhm.
How strong are the thighs on that woman?
Very powerful.
They must be.
Onatopp's plan.
Yes.
Here's the initial part of her plan, which it's one of those plans where you don't really think about it at the time in the cinema, but then literally decades later, you will do a podcast about it and a video, and you will rewatch it again and you'll think about it. Her plan initially is to seduce an admiral.
Yes.
Kill the admiral,
Yes.
steal his identification,
Yes.
and then board an aircraft carrier accompanied by an associate of hers disguised as the admiral so she can steal a helicopter.
Yes.
But what happens is they take the ID and they go to the aircraft carrier and the guard looks at it for 2 seconds and he just hands it back and they just get on. So I would say maybe rather than do that and make up 006 so he looks like a man he looks nothing like at all.
Is that 006 or is it that weird Russian dude?
Who knows? But either way, the much easier thing to do would maybe make a fake ID.
Oh, yeah.
Just put whoever's face on it and be like, "Here you
Nobody's
go."
looking at anything or scanning anything.
But again, she's horny for murder, so I guess
That's what she's about, yeah.
Mhm. What do you think about the stunts in this movie?
Good. There is a bit of green screen, blue screen kind of compositing, like at the bottom of the
opening,
bungee, when he's flying into the airplane.
The second stunt, of course,
Yeah.
is that he needs to escape from the Russian base,
Yep.
and he starts up a plane, but then he falls out of the plane,
Yes.
and the plane goes off a cliff, so he leaps from the cliff,
Yep.
And then he sort of free fall maneuvers his way back into the plane.
Terrific stuff.
Which it's right on the realm of believability for Bond. Like
Yeah.
you'll never see Daniel Craig do this. I
No,
don't think,
absolutely
these days.
not.
But in retrospect, what I'd probably do is rather than risk dashing myself against some rocks, thousands of feet below, is I'd probably just hop over the edge, wait till all the soldiers go home for dinner, just walk home.
Have a cigarette.
Have a cigarette.
No, he doesn't cigarettes in this
Not
one.
in- not
He
anymore,
does not
that's right.
cigarettes anymore.
He doesn't
I think
cigarettes anymore.
Smokes a cigar in one of the later ones. The other Bond woman is fine, I think. I think she's good.
Isabella Scorupco,
Yeah,
yes.
she's one of the better ones in this batch of films, I think, because there are some. Well, there's one in particular which we'll get to, which is not great, but I think she's good. I think she's a good match for him. Apparently, we find out in the sequel novel,
Yes.
for the next movie, that she ends up marrying some other dude, and he's like, good for her, because obviously I could never be happy with one person. So that's
true.
great. Yeah.
Look, my final note on this, relating to the end of the movie, he's having some romantic back and forth with her, and he says, "Oh, what could possibly go wrong?" And then he never sees her again. So I don't know what happened. I guess you married that guy.
I guess.
Yeah.
Did you know this is the only, and we need to check this week to week, Pierce Brosnan movie that doesn't end with him lying on top of a woman? Not movie, Bond movie, I should specify.
I was going to say, right.
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen Mamma Mia, so I don't know.
There's some people I also want to point out who I think are great in this. Alan Cumming as Boris is terrific.
I have a note here. Does Boris draw his own caricatures? Because they're quite good. He's got a little cartoony representation of himself.
Sure.
And his co-worker. I mean, he's a pervert.
It was the 90s. That's what you did.
Yeah.
Remember Dennis Nedry? One of those ones.
I mean, it's a good performance. That character is just kind of a collection of catchphrases.
Yes.
I feel he's the kind of guy who'd give himself his own nickname.
I tried to count the pen clicks.
Right.
I couldn't. I tried to find online if somebody counted the pen clicks. You can't.
Well, that's if you build it, they will come. I think maybe
That's
that's
right.
the next video. I wonder. I have a note here because obviously James Bond is given all his gadgets by Q as usual.
Oh my God.
He's given a car filled with rockets and turbochargers and ejector seats that, of course, he never uses any of in this movie.
Does he use the belt?
He does use the belt, yes, to
Can't
escape.
remember.
To escape. There's a prison escape later on before the tank chase, and he uses it then.
I kind of tune out in the tank chase. I shouldn't because it's spectacular, but I'm like,
Yeah.
I get it. He's in a tank.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, and one of the things Q gives him obviously is a pen.
Yep.
3 click. It's a grenade. 3 clicks arms it. 3 clicks disarms it.
Yes.
And I've got here. I wonder how many MI6 agents were killed in 1995 by their own exploding pens before Q put a click counter on them. I reckon like 3 or 4 probably.
Almost certainly.
Just people in the field going, "Oh, it's my last chance to." Oh no, it's okay. Everything's cool. Oh no.
Oh no.
How many times have I clicked this?
He is a fantastic carryover from the previous films.
The great Desmond Llewellyn,
And he still feels sharp in this one. You see a bit of the decline.
Yeah.
But it's a really fun throwback scene. You see all the visual
Yeah.
gags happening in the background. It's almost doesn't fit in this kind of movie, but
Yeah,
I
right.
think it 100% works.
No, this one's really quite good. You know, especially at the time, it felt fresh and new, but it also sort of definitely, and you know, the new Bond obviously, but it sort of felt in line with the ones from the 70s and the 80s.
Yes.
Because I think partly because it was made on film, so it still feels kind of, you know,
Yeah.
real and not made on video. And also because like all the briefing rooms are all then they haven't gone to like steel and glass and holograms. They're just like wood panel and like leatherette, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Which is, again, something that I've been saying for a long time. Take Bond back to the 60s. When you reboot it, you set it in that time period of the original films and you get all the retro gadgets and the retro sets and the retro cars. I think it'd be fantastic. And also, everything's not on a smartphone then.
That's true, yeah.
You know, he has to carry like 8 different devices that his phone could do. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Love the watch, by the way, the watch laser.
Oh, yeah.
Great
That's a
inclusion.
classic.
Yeah. Did you know
Ooh.
that for the video game, which we'll get to, they went around and they photographed everything that they could in this film, including Boris's shirt, to get that design into
Oh,
the game.
So as
Yeah.
they were filming the movie.
Yeah, they went down just for a day and just did everything that they could.
Wow.
There was like 10 people that worked on that game. Anyway, we'll get to it.
My
Surprise,
goodness.
maybe.
Oh, a little bit of surprise there, yeah.
I also want to make mention of Judi Dench, who
I've
I
written
think...
here, all caps, Judi Dench.
Yeah, and that's really... What else do you say, really? She's a great inclusion. The funny thing is, M being a woman was the idea of Lois Maxwell, who was the original Miss Moneypenny, because
yeah.
she wanted to come back and be the new M.
Okay, yeah.
And they went, that's a great idea for somebody else.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and look, I love Judi Dench. You can't really fault it, but that's
They were
rough.
like, and look, for the next movie, we want to cast a Lois Maxwell type. Lois, do you know anyone like that? You know anyone?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like
But this we got Samantha Bond.
Yes.
As Moneypenny this time around.
Yeah.
Again, in this one, she's kind of sharp and acerbic, and she's got like a rejoinder for every one of Bond's kind of, you know,
Yeah.
lascivious come-ons.
She hates him.
Yeah, she absolutely hates him. But then in later movies, she just becomes like super horny for Bond
she
in
kisses
VR
him
and
with
stuff.
hologram glasses
Yes,
on.
exactly.
Or
Yeah.
whatever. Now, there's a few things I feel like we need to talk about, and this I feel is your area more than mine.
Okay.
Theme song you mentioned.
I don't love it.
It's okay.
It's no From
Yeah.
Russia with Love or even
Live and Let Die.
yeah, Diamonds Are Forever.
Diamonds are forever.
That's right. But you know, GoldenEye, something.
GoldenEye. Yeah.
It's also it's also I think maybe the last opening sequence where it's just naked women doing naked women stuff. It's just like they weren't. Should we put some clothes on them? No, just be naked. They're gold.
They're in
naked
a
women.
pool, then they're out of the pool, and
Yeah.
they're naked, and
Should we
someone
put
shooting
some,
a gun.
Should we put some roulette stuff in front of them? Nah, just naked women, I reckon.
So the other thing I wanted to mention is the car. It wasn't out at the time.
Oh, the
BMW.
BMW Z3. Yeah, right.
Yeah. You a fan?
At the time, sure, but it has not aged well. I mean, what has certainly aged well is the Aston Martin DB5, which has in the opening sequence, and the hair,
But I think the thing about that car is as well that I read. You mentioned earlier how you mentioned earlier how we don't see any of the gadgets in the. This extended audio bit's amazing. Don't you?
How do you keep all this in?
I don't know.
Wow.
So you mentioned earlier about how we don't see any of the action. Fucking hell. Okay. You mentioned earlier we don't see any of the tricks in the car. Mm-hmm. Apparently that's because it was such a new model that they didn't have time to put it into the movie.
Oh, I see.
So that's why.
And also BMW were probably like, don't show the Stinger missiles in the car because everybody will want Stinger missiles.
Exactly, yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention is it's the 90s. You're a man of clothes. How we do it here.
Look, this, again, we're in an era and a Bond. Look, Daniel Craig could not pull off like a cable knit sweater and an ascot. He absolutely could. Daniel Craig could not pull off a double-breasted blazer with golden buttons. I contemplated wearing one today to the recording.
Really? For no reason.
For no reason.
For nobody to see.
For nobody to see. Could Daniel Craig pull off just a tactical fishing gear for the finale? Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
Kind of.
Yeah.
But it's just in that 1990s sweet spot.
Yeah.
Everything's slightly too big.
Yeah.
Don't think about
That's
it.
what we love about it. Also, just want to quickly mention about the finale. That bit where he's dropped onto the satellite dish. I don't know if you notice, but that dude breaks his leg so fucking hard.
The stuntman does.
No, the body. The
Oh, yeah, right.
You know, it's not real, I assume.
Sure, yeah.
I wound it back and went, did that guy just break his leg in 8 places? It is brutal. Ben will put in a slow-mo. Thanks, Ben.
But again, for the amount of distance he dropped,
Yeah.
he's getting off quite lightly.
Yes.
The fact that the character of 006 is still supposed to be alive,
Yeah.
having dropped like 300 feet.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, he has to stay alive so the satellite dish can fall on him.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm proud of him.
Mm.
Now, I do want to talk about some alternate casting for this because there were some other choices other than Brosnan.
I'm ready.
Before we do that, we got to get into the video game, right?
Let's play the video game. Specifically, you can play the video game and I can comment over the top of it.
Terrific.
Because I do not want to play that video game.
Hello everyone, just quickly, this is James here, Mr. Sunday Moment. Just to let you know that the video game portion of this audio podcast is only in the video because you wouldn't be able to see it. It would make no sense. We'd just be like, watch me shoot this guy, and you wouldn't see it. You'd be like, what guy? What guy? So I'm telling you, you can skip on over to that. It's probably linked below. I probably remembered to do that. All right, goodbye. I think as far as early video game movie adaptations, it manages to hit pretty close to what it's supposed to be. It's not just a side scroller and you're the Terminator or whatever they used to do.
That's true,
you go on the missions, you meet the people. There are additions to it, but I think it does a pretty good job of replicating the movie.
Absolutely.
That's what I think. Anyways, I said that we talk about alternate casting, and
Please.
here it is. In consideration, a lot of these are rumored, obviously. Rafe Fiennes.
Oh, as Mr. James Bond.
That's right. Ended up in the new franchise. Mel Gibson.
Okay, well, again, it was the 90s, so
was the 90s.
he was in contention for every major role at the time.
That's it. It said that Sam Neill auditioned, but he actually auditioned in the 80s. And he realized at the time, he's like, I'm not going to get this, and I feel dumb. There's footage of that. It actually doesn't look too bad.
Oh, yeah.
Liam Neeson turned it down. He would have been a big lumbering.
Well, he's
James Bond.
gotten his in the modern era, hasn't he?
That's very true. And Paul McGann was going to...
the Eighth Doctor?
The Eighth Doctor. He was going to do it if Brosnan didn't do it. So yeah, like you said, didn't end up that way. And he was Doctor Who for a minute. And then he did it for another minute.
He's had...
like 15 years later.
Look, in the future, everybody will have 2 minutes of being the Doctor. So that's very exciting, isn't it?
I cannot wait. Anyways, this has been Caravan of Garbage.
Oh, I have some side notes.
Oh.
I just made some notes for this one because I'm a big fan of the Bond franchise generally. So if you just want to, just enjoy these.
Okay. Sit back, everyone.
Sit back, everyone. This is Meso's stray thoughts at the end, is what
Love
it is. An early scene with James Bond is he's getting evaluated by an MI6 psychologist, and later he gives her, quote, a very thorough evaluation.
A root.
A root, exactly. But I would just enjoy it if later M reads back that report to Bond and it just says bad at sex. I thought that would be funny. I've got a note here. It says in 1995, an incoming email was a full screen event. Because there's a moment where Boris gets an email and he's like, whoa. It's like, wah, wah. I've gotten like 6 emails while we were recording this and all of them are just ads for stuff. And I'm like, nah. I've gotten here, after Bond and Onatop have a fight in the sauna, they have that sort of a knockdown, drag-out fight, Bond would have had to hold a gun on her long enough for both of them to get completely dressed and get in a car.
Yeah, how would have that worked?
I don't know.
How do you put on
at a certain point, he'd be have to like, I've got to tie this tie. Can you hold the gun for a minute? Just hold it on yourself. It's fine. And look, my final note is, I wonder where the liquid nitrogen frozen Alan Cumming statue is currently being stored. Because at the end he gets frozen and then he's just...
I bet Alan Cumming has it.
You reckon he has it?
Definitely.
All right, we'll tweet him. We'll find out.
I mean, you'd ask for it, wouldn't you? I would.
Yeah, probably, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you think they took that from Demolition Man? Bond is known for stealing things from other things.
Yes.
And I feel like they saw Demolition Man and went, what if that, but Alan Cumming?
Yes.
You know what I mean? The dream.
I bet Alan Cumming does have it in his house, the horny devil.
I love that guy. He's a great nightcrawler.
Yeah,
and other things. Yeah. Anyways, this has been Caravan of Garbage. We do this every week. It's not an accident that we did this. You can actually sign up for Patreon and choose what we're going to do next. It's entirely up to you for some reason. I mean, for money, because we want the money. It's entirely up to you.
Absolutely. But please do.
Yeah.
We won't turn it down.
Yeah. Yeah, come back next week for
Tomorrow
The World
Never
Is
Dies.
Not Enough. Time another time. Time another daytime. The one where he tries the newspapers.
He takes over the world with newspapers. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Terrific. And again, if you want to see us play the video game, 50,000 likes. But again, you don't have to because I don't want to. So
no, it's markedly worse than GoldenEye by all accounts, and I don't like GoldenEye. So,
all right, guys, I'm at Mr. Sunday Movies on Twitter.
I'm at Wikipedia Brown on Twitter.
Grab that. No, you say that. Can I say it?
Yeah, all right. Special occasion.
Wait, what am I doing?
Grab that jam, everybody. We'll see you next week.
This podcast is part of the Planet Broadcasting Network.
Visit planetbroadcasting.com for more podcasts from our great mates.
I mean, if you want. It's up to you.